All right, let's continue talking about these classes inside of classes. In the last video, what we did was we saw how we could give a person object not just basic primitive type variables, but also objects. Objects will be strings, arrays, and any other class that you have to create using the keyword new. And so it's pretty well everything else. Now, what we did was we saw how we could set the variables through the runner, okay, doing a little method like this. And we also saw how we could set them also just in the person class itself. Anytime you want, just make that variable equal a new instance if you wanted. Now what we want to see is in our runner, how do we access and change and use the information inside these objects? It's going to involve using the period key a lot. So let's just go and see how that works. So I'm just going to continue off of this here. I'm going to take all these system outs. We don't really need them anymore. And let's just go down here. Let's just show you how to access the information for all this stuff. Hey, Paul, dot. As soon as you hit the dot, it goes inside of your instance or your class, and it shows you what you have access to. So let's try to do location for a start. So I'm going to say, hey, Paul, go grab me your location object. As soon as you do this, this thing here, in every respect, is a location object. Okay, it's almost no different than the location object you made right here by going new location. Okay, that is what it refers to. It's Paul's location object. So we got this location object. What can you do with it? Well, let me just add one quick thing here first. Let's just do a system out so we can see it's working. Well, what we can do with it is hit the dot again. Now we're going inside of the location object. And you can see really clearly, yeah, we're inside the location object. And let's try to get city, which will send us back a string. So when we do this, I mean, I know you believe me, but let's see this run here. And there it is. Prints out Vancouver, right? And so it works nicely. And I mean, once you've seen this once, you pretty well get the hang of how to do it. Now our location class, if you actually read your classes carefully, sometimes members or fields in the class will be public, and sometimes it will be private. You can see here city is private access. And if you pop to the class, private, I can't access that one directly from outside of the class, which you've learned before. So the only way to get to it was with the get city, right? So that line won't work. So when you read your classes, I mean, the best thing to do, if you don't want to actually read the class, is when you hit the dot, NetBeans actually tells you quite a bit. You don't see city there. That's a hint you don't have access to city at this spot here. Let's see what we can do with our movie object. So Paul dot favorite movie dot, and let's print out the name of it. And you can see our movie object, public, public, public. I actually just gave this one all public access just to show that point, right? No access or method needed for that one. You can just use the variable. And in fact, if I wanted, I could actually change it. So Paul dot favorite movie dot name, set it equal to whatever. What's a good one? There you go. My kids like cars. So Paul's favorite movie's cars. When this prints out now, you've accessed it, changed it, cars. What actually happens in memory here is it says, hey, Paul, who's a person, go to your favorite movie. Woof, jumps to that spot in memory, access the name, change it to cars, and now it's cars. Right? So that's how all this is working. Now, to go a little further here, we're going to go one step further, because that's really how you do it with these objects. You just use the dot to keep going into things. Is one thing I can do is look at lucky numbers, because lucky numbers is a bit special. Lucky numbers actually has an array inside of it. And when you have an array is actually considered an object. So what we really have here is we really have a person that has a luckies object, or sorry, a lucky numbers object, and the lucky numbers object has an object inside of it that's an array. And so you could probably guessed it, we just keep using the dot. So if I want to find out the first lucky number, which you can read this more carefully on your own time, I've set 3 lucky numbers for each person automatically when they're made, is you get to do a line sort of like this. Hey Paul, access your luckies and access your, and let's see what we can do here with lucky numbers. It's private. It's private. So I have to use get lucky number and I have to name the index. And let's get lucky number 0. And you can see here the whole line works nicely. And if I run it, it just happened to be 758. I'll do a quick change here to show you something extra. But let's say I had taken this private access and just switched it to public. What I could do in my runner now, if that array is public, is I could do system.out, print line, hey Paul, access luckies, access numbers, slot 0. And so just to show you that this kind of stuff you'll be doing a lot. We never go too far with the dots. I mean, you're never going to be going dot, 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 dot 20 times. But doing it 2, 3, 4 times, very common, right? And hopefully you sort of get used to doing it. Give this a little run and you'll see it works nicely. Now it's 671, 671. Now if you want to set values, get values, all depends. Okay, look at your classes. Look at what you have for your constructors. Look at what you have for your methods, right? What you're allowed to do. Sometimes you have public. Sometimes you have private, right? And that'll tell you what you're allowed and not allowed to do with the classes. But this is a powerful idea, right? And hopefully you can see that the organization of this gets very nice. I mean, this movie class now is reusable. I could use this movie class in some other program. Same thing with location and lucky numbers. If I had done this the old way, all the code would just be inside of one class, right? Makes it harder to edit, harder to change, and not as flexible in the future. So hopefully this idea doesn't seem too hard and you like doing this. It's going to be a little third video which shows you a little extra special something just to make sure you really got the idea of this. Thanks for watching.